There's Alan Graham.
Hi guys. Hi Zach.
Hi.
This is exciting. We just did a I just did a dissertation in front of the hotel. By the way, look where we are.
I can't turn
Yeah,
the
you
There's
camera.
a beautiful tree.
Can you see the hotel?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're here in Cali, Southern California, and we're beaming into Denver, Colorado, into the Mutiny Cafe. And my friend Zack, Kopp, and his two buddies there who run the cafe. We're all going to be talking. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, I booked you for an hour and a half today, whatever you feel like getting off your chest.
Okay, well, I'm ready to go whenever you're ready. So let me know. I come in
Yeah, we're starting right now, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I want to start out with a poem, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Before the beginning of the years that came to the making of man, time with a gift of tears, grief with a glass that ran, pleasure with pain for leaven, summer with flowers that fell, remembrance fallen from heaven, and madness risen from hell, strength without hands to smite, love that endures for a breath, night the shadow of light, and light the shadow of death. And the high gods took in hand fire and the falling of seers, and a measure of sliding sand from under the feet of the years, and froth and drift of the sea, and dust of the laboring earth, and bodies of things to be in the houses of death and of birth. In his lips is a blind desire, with his heart he travaileth, in his eyes is feel of love, in his eyes for knowledge of death. He weaves and is clothed with derision. He sows and he shall not reap. His life is a watch or a vision between asleep and asleep. Algernon Swinburne, 1860 something, always inspired me because it's telling you the essence of man are all of these things of this primordial slime we came from. All of us are the essence of those words in that poem. And so some of us less sophisticated than others. Some of us, like when I was a child in school, I was so stupid that I flunked clay class. We lost it.
Paul.
Whoa there. Did we lose it?
No, he's there.
Well, life comes in and out. So as I say, I was so stupid in school. I got hit by a truck when I was 6 years old, and I was always missed a year. And people used to say, "Why is that kid smiling all the time?" And they didn't know it, but I saw everything was like candy floss and flowers. Everything was beautiful. Like I was like a young Siddhartha kid going. But once again, I was so stupid because I missed all those lessons for a year. And people would be talking about multiplication, and what is multiplication? I never did learn, never did catch up, by the way. I was considered functionally illiterate when I left school. And I was so, what's the word? Mercurial. I'd be here and there and over there and up in the air, daydreaming all the time. I didn't even get a reference from the headmaster, who said I was the most stupid person he ever educated in his life. And that's an oxymoron, isn't it? Because I didn't get educated, but I did get educated when I left school on my own, out of necessity, out of want, out of hunger, and all the other things that happens when you grow up in a very poor district of Liverpool, where I grew up. And anyway, I've been ranting and raving here, so I'm going to ask a question to my two compadres there. First of all, I want to send again my condolences to those beautiful people who died. And even though it's a negative thing to bring up, I don't mean it in that way. I'm bringing up sending more love and more energy and anything I can do for the people who suffered from that. I know that there's myriad people involved, affected a lot of people's lives. So I'm going to say a prayer for you right now, if you don't mind. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen. Credo in unum Deum, Patrem omnipotentem, factorem caeli et terra visibilium omnium et invisibilium, et unum sanctam catholicum et apostolicum ecclesiam, et una baptisma in remissionem peccatorum, et expecto resurrectionem mortuorum, vitor venturi seculi. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. So, back to reality. Hey, look at that.
All right.
Any questions? I'm ready.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions for Al, please step up to that microphone and go ahead and ask him.
I'll answer it already. I am more than 21 years old. I'm absolutely mental in one respect, but I'm also kind of groovy for an old bastard. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I also have a beer here that I'm drinking, if you don't mind. The informality of
Oh,
this
no
whole
problem.
the informality of the whole technology is wonderful, and to erase all the old paradigms, if possible, you know, where the publisher would say, well, we've got to have this lovely bit of video and you've got to wait 6 minutes before you do it. And then by the time you get to it, it's so stilted. This is natural and organic. And I think I've done enough talking, so I'm listening for a while.
Yeah, so let me encourage you, Taylor, Devin, get up there, ask Al a question. Say something, tell us about your day. You don't even have to ask Al a question, just,
Wait a minute, we're going to do something interesting here. This is my son, Dylan, the oldest one. Hey, Dylan. Listen, right now, you were doing a live podcast directly to Denver to some friends of mine. Say hello to Denver, son.
You want me to talk to all of fucking Denver?
No,
Seriously?
no, just Denver. You don't have to say the other bit. Just say Denver.
Hey, Denver, what's the worst thing about Colorado?
There's nothing wrong with Colorado, you
It's
bastard.
not California.
Oh, get out of it.
Oh, I know, right?
Stop swearing, you bastard. People are just,
Why?
because I just said a lovely prayer and you're, that's my, anyway, this is my,
We have an obligation to
we have,
swear properly and in context.
yeah.
Father. There
We,
are some places only a good swear word can do.
so we call him loudest. I'm biggest, he's loudest. We have littlest. All our sons are all got a classic name. But my son here, he can speak from now until next Wednesday without shutting the fuck up because he's got a motor in him. Like, well, he came from his daddy's loins, and that's on.
right?
Daddy doesn't talk too much. Oh, wait, you're doing it? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Talking for on purpose. For the sake of it, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, not wonderful, you rat bastard.
What are
Okay.
you accomplishing in said
What-
podcast?
Tell me why you were calling. Well, because we're selling a book in Denver. Instead of getting on a plane and going to sitting in a wet bookshop, we're doing it live. We're doing it over the air, and we don't have got another one planned in Paris very soon. Did you know that? No, of course you didn't. Anyway, why are you calling me right in the middle of your podcast? What have you got to say?
I think what you meant to say is, why am I answering in the middle of a podcast?
Yeah, but we wanted to get your big loud ass in here. You'd probably add another dimension, like a wallpaper or something.
Hey, I didn't even call you on purpose. I was going on a rant, getting ready to talk to some weenie attorney, and I just ended up hearing you on the other end. That's
Oh, so you talked to a weenie attorney. Well, I've got my friends in Denver who are waiting for me to talk to them about asking me questions about, and I wanted to introduce them to you because you're the loudest man on God's green earth. Show them.
You have no decibel meter to prove that. That's speculation. You're not sure of that. That's a fact. You're just an opinionated person.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Hey, good luck with the book in Denver and everywhere else. Actually, I was calling you. I got to go to Chicago and meet some guys about a thing at some place, and I got extra plane tickets this month, so I thought you might want to go.
Yeah, I might. When is it?
I didn't schedule it, but 2 weeks. 1 week and 2 days.
Are we going to go into the ghetto when we go to Chicago?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, oh,
Always.
sign me up.
That's
Okay.
home for us.
Well, listen, fuck you very much. I mean, thank you very much for calling.
We're going to the low end of the South Side. So
Oh.
the South Side is the ghetto. The low end is the ghetto of the ghetto.
Do you know Mad Bad Leroy Brown lives right there?
I believe he did in 1967.
Is he dead now?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, we'll dig him
Wait a
up.
minute, you're still alive. Maybe he's still kicking. I'm not sure.
Okay, my son, it's
We'll look him up at that little bar. How's that?
I'm up for it. Son, I'm in. All right, son.
The baddest man in the whole damn town when I get there.
Right on.
Oh,
Hey.
no swearing.
Hey, you don't
Free
forget,
color, free
don't forget you're taking Big Al with you, so everything's gonna be cool, right?
color. Oh, Daddy. Look out, Daddy.
Bye, son. Well, sorry for that interruption, lads. That was
Oh,
my
no
big
problem.
son, Dylan. He runs the Doors Music Company in Los Angeles, and he's 10 Al's, and I think I'm formidable whenever I set my mind to it, but he's 10 times me in every way,
Oh, my
in business, and it just is frightening. You don't want to go near it. He's a behemoth. It's like this vast silo of talk. Anyway, so let's get back to Denver and let's focus on Denver. That coffee shop. This has always been
I've got a friend with a question for you, Al.
good. I'll shut up.
He's gonna get on the mic.
Subject of your new book.
Say that again in slow motion. Move back a bit. I don't like to be in
What's the
face.
new book about?
What's the
Oh, the new book. Well, first,
The subject of the book.
there are 3 books coming out. The first one is a 300 and something page reissue of I Remember Jim Morrison. Second one is Before the Beatles Were Famous, which chronicles my life in Liverpool as a child and all of the Dickens. I would equate it with like Dickens, those dark satanic mills, because where I grew up, it was like Brooklyn. It was the coast. I mean, the pier head was like granaries, refineries, oil, sugar, all of that stuff. And the black smoke blew up the hill into our houses, and all the streets were black, just like an old Dickens tale of, like Great Expectations or whatever. Anyway, so what was the question again?
Spoke about.
He wants
Oh,
to
yeah.
know about your books.
So the third book is a book of verse by me called Poet Rain. And I've also just spoken with a friend of ours in France, and we're going to issue the book in French. It's also in Swedish and Italian, but this time we're just going to do it in French and English. And it goes on Kindle, and it goes on in hard copy, paperback. And I'll be sending some to Zack tomorrow because it comes off the press today, which is really thrilling. And I'm going to tell you a little quick story about one of the chapters in there. So we discovered that Jim he's been missing for 3 years. And one day in London, we get an album in the mail, and it's got this picture of Jim Morrison on the front of it. And his sister hasn't seen him for 3 years, and she opens it up. It was sent by his mother, opens it up, and tears just fell out of her eyes that way. And she was like, oh my God, that's his brother. And he was with this cool group called the Doors of Perception. It was Aldous Huxley. It was William Blake. It was all of this intellectual from Americans band. For a while, they called the Doors the Rolling Stones of America, but they were not quite that. They were much more. Anyway, they did Bertolt Brecht and like Alabama Song, Mahogany, and all of that.
Yeah.
1920s jazz stuff. It was absolutely stunning. So about a year later, our child was born, Dylan, big mouth, on the phone. And we decided we're going to come and take a look at America. So when we got here, we arrived and we landed in Los Angeles. We're going to stay with a friend of the family, Andy Richards, the Commander Richards. He was the godfather of Jim. We stayed with him for a couple of days. Then we drove right to Los Angeles because we wanted to see Jim. No one had seen him except us. We drove up there. We got to the Los Angeles and we called the office and we said, we're the family and where's Jim? And she said, well, he's on his way in from Houston. He's been doing a concert. And so we said, well, which flight? We went to the airport and we waited at the gate. They stepped off the plane. It was August. No, it was June. It might have well been August because it was burning hot in Los Angeles. He steps off the plane wearing a World War II bomber jacket, a Mae West, big fur collar. He had Levi's cowboy boots, beautiful aviator glasses, the original ones, tinted green, long hair, and a briefcase stuffed with all of his poetry that he'd been doing on the plane. And he looked over at us, and all the Doors were with him, and they all looked over at us because we were waiting like this. And he said to to Anna, you wouldn't have to be my sister, would you? And she said, yes. And this is your nephew, Dylan. And he gave him to Jim. And this is his brother-in-law, Alan. And we all marched up, got in my car. We drove to the Christopher Columbus Transcontinental Highway, which was Santa Monica Freeway, Highway 10. At a little apartment, Pamela was waiting for us in the little apartment. And when we got there, Pamela said, oh, the family. She went, ding, how can I get in on this? She took Jim's sister into the bedroom immediately and said, look at this. Pulled out a box from under the bed, opened it up, and there was a turned out upside down, inside out envelope, and it was written, if I die, everything goes to Pamela Curzon. And if she dies, everything goes to my brother and my sister. Look at this. And Anna was like, what? She didn't swear, but she could tell you to fuck off with a glance. And Pamela was a gold digger from the word go. And that's what I remember of her. And not all this shit about being in love with Jim. Yeah, she was too. But she was a junkie and a user and a conniving. Get that. It's the Osprey. Two Osprey.
Yeah.
That's the boondoggle of an aircraft that it's big and it can lift a crane, but it's like had a lot of problems. Anyway, getting back to make a long story longer, that's the way we met Pamela. That's the environment Jim was in. It was like all the doors were over here going, get rid of her. And she was over here saying, get rid of the doors. And you've got the poetry. They've got nothing. She was right, actually, about that. However, that was not to be. He died at 27, mysteriously in Paris. And she was there at the moment. And that's a whole other story. But does anybody have any questions?
That was a question.
Does either of you have a question? Oh, here comes one. Here comes one.
Thank you for that information. You're on
Welcome.
Coronado Island?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
How did you come to live on Coronado Island?
Well, when I first got to America, the admiral was stationed at the Pentagon when we first arrived here. And 6 weeks into it, he got a phone call saying, you're going to Japan. You are now commander-in-chief of the Marianas. Carrier Division 9 was his fleet. And he sailed all those carriers out to fight the Vietnam War. And that's how we arrived here, just by wherever they went, we went. But that was the life of a Navy brat, as they call it, Navy child. In the middle of the night, you could get orders to go to Bangkok. And you'd pack your shit up and you'd go. They were like gypsies, in a weird way. So that's what happened to us. We just packed our bags and we came here and started all over again. When I arrived here, to me, it was the Principality of Lotus Land. And to this day, it is the most beautiful place on earth.
Wow. Do you have any idea that Jim might have faked his death? You have anything to say about that?
That's a part of the myth that is woven into the American fabric. And no matter what I say, what I do, millions of people, they look at you and go, yeah, sure he's dead. Yeah, he's in Australia, isn't he?
He's partying with Elvis.
Yeah. He's partnering with Elvis. Here's a quick story for you. Larry Flint, the great pornographer who died recently, he had a fascination for Jim Morrison like no one else. In fact, actually, it was his wife. He just used that like he does everything else. My wife's interested. I'm interested. And so one day, I was advertising for an investor to do a project, a rock musical. We were just in the middle of it. And he called and said, I'm interested. And when I come to the mansion, I want to come to the office. So I went, sat with him at the mansion for 2 hours. And we talked about him, First Amendment. And he was absolutely immersed in the law and the rights of human beings. I mean, you wouldn't believe it from a pornographer. This guy had a golden reputation for giving money to Spinal Cord Society and all the other things that you wouldn't believe that he was involved in. In fact, his publishing company published more religious books than porno. People don't know that, but he was a great publisher. So anyway, I talked to him. He said to me, "Oh, I'm interested in doing a movie. You want to do a movie?" Yeah. He gave me $10,000 check, and it was pink. And that was his, like, pink. That was his word. That was his
Signature.
signature. Right. So that led to an adventure like you've never, ever, ever believe. It was everywhere I went with Flint, it would be like, Alan Graham, Jim Morrison's brother-in-law, is in Springfield, Missouri, while Larry Flint is in prison. And Alan Graham's outside with a bunch of hookers, pimps, murderers, and all kinds of misfits picketing. And so we were doing the activist thing too. Like we took the 60s genre and we blasted Springfield. I mean, we turned it on its ear. And that's another story, but it's in the book. So I'll go into that as we get along in these podcasts. One of my big focuses right now is manic depression. I'm very immersed in the nuances because Larry Flint was the apex of manic depressants. He was also a predator, but he was a manic depressant. And the things that happened in that window, or they call it a manic ride, the things that happen in there are just unbelievable. You cannot believe that. First, you can't believe you've accomplished what you've accomplished, because when you look in history, Alexander the Great, one of the greatest manic depressants, he took on the world and he kicked its ass. And the only reason he didn't survive is because he got jumped by Mr. Dead in the middle of the night. I think some of his people offed him. I don't know, but that's the rumor. But he had about 50,000 men. He had very few casualties in any of his campaigns, and he almost killed the world. In fact, he did. He wiped it out. And then the funniest thing happened to Alexander the Great is all of those Mongols, all of those primitives that were murdering everybody, eventually you wonder what happened to them. Where did they go? They're not around anymore. Well, what happened to them? They did a 180. They killed the world. When it was like every good predator, you eat yourself out of a job. They came back to where they started, and they became the biggest benefactors of art and culture and science and everything else. So they didn't die. They just blended in. And that's what we're doing today, blending into Denver. Hello, Denver.
That's right.
So that, I know that sounded a little scattered, but take a look at this. I just did a video to celebrate the great state of Israel. I did Ava Nagila, and I was dancing as a Scotsman with, doing Hebrew. So anything can happen anywhere, as the Twilight Zone. You know what I mean? 1 minute you're at a hotel, next thing you don't know what's going to happen.
Between shadow and substance.
Yes. So, lads, where are my friends? Who are my hosts? I've forgotten.
Oh, Mutiny Information Cafe, Jim Norris and Matt McGessie. We want to send a thank you out to them. And they've been nothing but supportive of my art since I met them. It's a great place. Al loves this place. If you'd like to give some praise for Mutiny, Al, now's your chance. Devin, are you leaving?
I have to go.
All right, have a good afternoon.
Pleasure to meet you. I appreciate your insights, and I look forward to more. I will be reading through your books.
I don't know if he can hear you. You might have to get on the mic.
I'm listening.
Unfortunately, I have to go. But I really appreciate you taking the time and listening to you. I've gotten a lot of insight. I'm going to take that with me for the rest of the day. Possibly
Thank you, my
for the
friend.
next day.
Don't forget. Don't forget, this is all on tape, so we can play it back and do whatever we want. There's no deadlines and nothing. It's wonderful. It's organic, and it's all in this, what we call in the silo. So we can pull it down and show it anywhere, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever,
Well, I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. I will take a look at your books, and good luck to everything. Hopefully,
Rock on.
we can do this again.
Thank you very much. God bless you all.
All right. Greetings to you
Bye.
and San Diego. Have a great day. Bye.
Vaya con Dios.
That's my friend Devin. Have a nice afternoon, Devin.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Taylor, did
Well-
you want to talk about manic depression?
If you want me to, I'll talk
Yeah,
about
did
it.
you have anything to say? I'm asking Taylor if he wants to ask a question or say something.
Very heavy
Doesn't
subject.
have to be about that. All right, all right. No more questions. I don't think, Taylor says they're very interesting. He doesn't want to ask a question. If you feel like talking more, be my guest.
Okay, how about a poem?
Sure, that's great.
I've got a better idea. How about something a cappella? A little song.
Right?
This one's called Kevin Barry. It's an Irish rebellion song. Any good Irishman knows this song. In Mountjoy jail one Monday morning, high upon the gallows tree, Kevin Barry gave his young life for the cause of liberty. Just a lad of 18 summers, and yet oh, one can deny, as he walked to death that morning, proudly held his head on high. Just before he faced the hangman in his lonely prison cell, black and tans they tortured Barry just because he would not tell. Tell the names of all your comrades, tell the names of all your friends. Turn informer and we'll free you, but Kevin Barry answered no. As he stood unto attention, as he bid his last farewell to his broken-hearted mother, who has grief no one can tell. Shoot me like a soldier, do not pay me like a dog, for I fought to free my country on a sweet September morn. Another matter for old Ireland, another murder for the crown. Its brutal laws may kill the Irish, but never keep its spirit down. Thank you very much. Elvis died.
Right.
Yeah, we just had an anniversary of Elvis's death, so every chance I get, I go, thank you very much for all the stuff you left us behind, Elvis. And to all the other artists who died young, prematurely, and left us behind gold. Nothing but
Yeah.
gold, diamonds and gold.
So Elvis's
So-
death anniversary was just today, is that right?
No, a few days ago, but I celebrated
All
like
right.
so
Birthday was the 9th, I think.
the 9th
eighth or
was his
9th.
birthday. Yeah, so we
All right.
celebrated his birthday. We celebrate it all the time, every chance we get. We love
Rock
us so
and
heavy.
roll.
What's the weather like
Yeah.
in Denver now?
Oh, it's a nice sunny day. We haven't had much snow this winter so far. It's supposed to be coming up next week, I think.
The whole nation is getting beat the hell up with snow, and you're lucky because Colorado is Colorado.
Yeah, we're used to getting a lot of snow. It's really unusual.
That's great. Well,
But I'm
we got-
enjoying the sunlight.
that's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, Lo. So I want to do what I want to do, but I want to hear what you want to ask me something.
Well, let me tell you, I set this up as a totally free form thing, and I said it was going to go from 1 to about 6, and there's only been a couple of people showed up for it so far. We're going ahead with it. Mutiny's all the way supportive, and I think there's going to be some more people coming, and we're going to end up doing an open mic, or maybe just hang around and have a conversation.
That'll be cool. So let's
Yeah.
see that. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look, David.
He's got to set it. He's got
Oh,
to do
it's set now. We can't see. Oh, there.
What
oh,
are you
there.
trying to see?
Yeah, we can see them.
it. Okay.
Great. There you are. Now we can see the cafe.
Yeah, there's a cafe view.
And who is that young lady?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's my friend Taylor. He's a male. He's
Sorry.
a biker, so he's wearing,
Long hippie
biker pants.
Got shades on.
probably
Sorry,
got-
son. No offense.
That's all right. What's
In the
that
sick-
pretty girl on the screen name?
In the
Get
60s,
up on the mic, Taylor. I'm trying to coax him over to the mic so you can hear him. Just do it. Go ahead. All right, you're gonna meet my friend Taylor Grant now. Here he
Hey, I was
comes.
just wondering, you look beautiful up there too, sweetheart.
Uh,
What?
Hi, young
flowers-
Taylor.
You're a flower child in the 60s?
yeah, not only that, when I first came to California, I had long hair, right? And I went into this bar in Coronado. It was all about Navy SEALs. That was their hangout. And one of them came up to me and said, "Want to dance?" I said, "No, I don't." And then 4 or 5 of them gathered around me and said, they were going to kick my ass. Let's put it like that. Well, this lad is from Liverpool and an old street fighter. And I was not about to take shit from any of them, but I was surrounded by murderers. That was their job. And so one of them said, stand up. So I stood up and looked him in the eye like that. And he was a little guy, but he looked like he could kick the ass out of an oak tree. And so his boss just happened to be sitting next to him, the SEAL team commander who trains them all to kill. He was a pro, big man. He reached over to me and said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Al Graham." He grabbed my hand. He had a hand like a shovel, but I got a hand like a fucking shovel too. Anyway, excuse me. So I grabbed his hand and I shook it like that. He shook me down. I shook him down. He said to me, "You got a great handshake." And that was it. All the boys said, "Well, hey, want to buy beer?" And they were all my friends after that. But I was ready to throw down. I mean it, because where I come from, if you didn't react with an instantaneous dose of retribution, you were meat. You were the victim. So I always had that attitude. Anyway, that's the way I ended up in America. And then I went on a construction site, and all the kids were from the Midwest, big, tough, muscle-building bastards. They've been banging nails for the whole life. I'm a little white milk, bottle of milk, English body, right? In 6 months, I was like them. We had shorts, tennis shoes, a rigging axe, and we worked in 90 degrees for $6.50 an hour. And we used to have a ripped up T-shirt for a headband full of ice cubes just to work. That's the way it was back then. And we were too stupid to know that you can't do that. That's what we did. That was Cali back then.
Well, Taylor
I went
was
off on a
talking
rant there,
about
sorry.
Peaky Blinders this morning. Maybe Taylor wants to talk to you about
Oh.
Peaky Blinders.
I
We've been
wonder
watching
how
that
many
show.
people. That was great because that takes me back to, that's where Charlie Chaplin came from. The same gypsies. There's a place called the Black Patch. If you know this story, this really rough part of like volcanic black cobblestone dirt that they allowed the 13th, 14th, and 15th century gypsies to live in England. And so they've been there forever. Charlie Chaplin was one of those fellows. And he's mentioned in the series, a guy who was a British soldier, an Irish British soldier. He was Charlie Chaplin's bodyguard after the war. And you saw Charlie in there going, "You do this." And it's like, they wove Charlie Chaplin into that series, which was the Peaky Blinders. For those of you who don't know, you know those hats with the little peak on? Well, the Irish mob would stuff those hats with razors and they'd smack you right in the eyes. They're called Peaky Blinders. So they'd blind you with their hats. And that's how vicious they were. They took over all of the gambling, all the horse racing. And it was like every other tribe of people, wealthy or dominant people, they intermarried with the intelligentsia. So everybody was in on it, one way or the other. So the gypsies weren't outcasts as you think. They were an integral part of the underworld.
Right.
But that was a great series. Oh my God, I love that. They're going to do a movie coming up soon. Did you know that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, a new movie coming out all about it. It's a reprise of all of that. Can't wait to watch it. It's next week, I think.
Oh,
No
really?
kidding.
That's very interesting. I'm
Yeah.
still on the fourth season, so I haven't watched it this season yet. Of
Yeah,
Peaky
I've
Blinders.
watched-
Yeah,
I
that's
watched-
good.
I binge watched it 80 times. I love it so much because if you know the people,
Wow.
that's where I grew up, and I know all the people. I know the accents. I know the nuances. They were all doing blow in the 20s and rough scotch.
Wow.
We think it's all new. It's like in Europe in the 1900s, you go into these big gambling houses, and it would be a guy who would meet you and say, cocaine or cards. And if you wanted cards, you'd go in that way. If you wanted cocaine, Polly, you'd go in that way. And like in the 30s and the 50s, all of the jazz singers in Vegas and LA, and they're all using blow. We think it's, oh, the 60s came and blow came. It's been around since man began. And there you have it.
Yeah. Seems like everything has.
Yes.
So, Al, have you caught Una Chaplin in any movies yet? That's Charlie's granddaughter, great granddaughter, maybe. Una Chaplin.
Una.
I know he had a wife named Una, but now it's a great granddaughter with the same name.
No, I've heard, but I have not seen them yet. I know he had a
Lovely
son.
one.
He had a son who wrote a book when Charlie was living in London. And it was, I cannot smoke the grass on my father's lawn. And he was a hippie. He had long hair.
Yeah.
Father disowned him. Charlie said, get out. And Charlie was like, you know, he had a reputation of being pretty kinky in his own day. But when the 60s came, Charlie got suddenly moral. I want to tell you something about my son that was on the phone, Dylan. We talk about Charlie Chaplin because we read his biography. And in it, the biographer said to him, well, when you were 26, you were on top of the world. You owned your own studio. You were not part of the Hollywood scene. You didn't need them. In fact, Charlie Chaplin started Screen Actors Guild because the actors and Jimmy Cagney and all were getting abused by these big movie companies. So Charlie, little rebellious, little Jew guy, he started Screen Actors Guild. And everybody got equity. Everybody got paid well. And they didn't like Charlie, and eventually they wormed him out of there. They kicked his ass, and he had to go to live in France. But anyway, to make a long story longer, they asked him, the biographer asked him, what was it like back then? All that beauty going on, you had all that power, your celestial star was at high noon, and you had no problems. And he goes, you know, I just couldn't enjoy it all. That and my son and me went, no, the one thing don't not enjoy. You could get hit by a truckload of shit houses on the way to a construction site tomorrow. So seize the day. Do it now. Don't, as I'll put that off. Oh, you're not Scarlett O'Hara. Tomorrow never comes. Hey, do it today, just in case. And that's my opinion. What's yours?
I agree with you. That's great advice.
Yeah. So, Zach,
So,
this is exciting. What we can do. Instead of burning ourselves up on the road and in these like awful system of big publishers that they put you on the road, they put you into 50 different dates in the middle of winter sometime, and you go to these moribund little places and you read for 12 people and you get your ass tired, broke ass, and you get to the next one. And when you come home, they say, that was wonderful. You sold 3,000 books or whatever. And by the way, we've got like a lot left over. So we're going to take those books. We're going to put them in the bargain basement section. They're going to sell for $1.50. And you're going to get none of that because we have to cover our expenses for your hotel, for your food, for the little advance you got. In the end, most people, even big guys, they make $1 or $2 on the book. And then they tell you, oh, but your next book, yeah, if you get one. So that whole system, that whole moribund, creepy, crawly, what shall I say, disused paradigm is gone. The new method is to do this and to talk to people wherever in the world you are at any time of the day or night and say, I'm selling this book and I've got this poem and I've got this song. And later on, when everyone's sleeping, you can bring up the footage and say, look at that while I was sleeping. So it's all organic and it's all, you know, not like, oh, it was aired on that date. Anytime you want to. This is the magic of the new paradigm. And we ripped it away from the old people and who still think, well, you got to get on a plane and you got to go to Denver. You got to go. No, you don't. Watch us. but
You're
cheeky.
right. I remember you talking to me about how the music industry was really more like a mortuary after Prince died. And I know you know that firsthand, being that your brother-in-law was Jim Morrison and all the marketing and merchandising that's happened since his death. And it's wonderful to be smashing that moribund paradigm and moving into the future.
Here it is. You know, we broke on through to the other side. That's no joke. Morrison. I want to tell you something. I want to say this about Jim Morrison, why he has lasted so long. Each decade, each young man, and I don't know why, but each guy who reaches this limit, it's like the rites of passage. Every young man wants to rebel against his parents, rebel against his society, do shit different than anyone else does. And in this new paradigm, every single generation, it's now 60 years now, that has come along has found Morrison in this. He died young and he died with this unresolved, unrequited, love for the people he wanted to love because he was estranged. But Elvis doesn't get that treatment. Johnny Cash, yeah, we all love him, but there's no one like Jim Morrison who attract and will, I believe, because this is a natural process of a young man growing up and saying, no, I'm going to do it my way. No, you're not going to put me in a box. No, you're not sending me to Vietnam. No, I'm not going to do your shit because you did it and you think it's good for me. I'm different. I'm new. I want to be me. I gotta be me. And so the old society in the 60s would go, you dirty, commie bastard. You mean you don't want to die in Vietnam? Well, my relatives died and all the way back. Well, they're not dying. No, we want to live. We don't want to go kill someone we don't even know. I don't want to kill somebody I know. We want to live and do music and art and all that lovely stuff and not your bullshit. Well, we were outcasts. We were dirty commies, subversive. We were going to ruin the country. Bullshit. In the end, those old bastards that yelled at us ended up smoking pot with us. They became cool. They couldn't resist. All these young people were doing, like we're doing us. We're doing it now, and we're doing it. We're not going to wait till next year to do it. We're doing it now. They got the numbers. Well, they got the guns. We got the numbers. Going to win. Yeah, we're taking over, and we did. Now, can we take a break now? Because my techie just died, but he got better.
Yeah, well, I think
Why don't we do this? Why don't we just put it down and I'll be talking into it from up here?
Well, yeah, but you need to point the camera.
Yeah, I need to point the camera.
Okay, sure. You got 14 minutes left.
That went quick. Boy, that was quick.
That was great, though. You're very entertaining.
Okay, so here we are now.
Top of your head.
Let's do something. Jim Morrison's very interested in all of the great artists, but he actually stole a lot from them. For example, death makes angels of us all and gives us wings where once we had shoulders smooth as raven's claws. Well, he purloined that directly from William Blake. And actually, that was Shakespeare. Shakespeare said, "Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest." So Morrison's body of work, is replete with angels. Are you a lucky little lady in a city of light, or just another lost angel, city of night? And everything like death makes angels of us all is just one, but every little bit there was an angel or there was some kind of spirit that he and here's another interesting thing. One time he did an interview, a reporter asked him something stupid and he said, one day I just woke up and I was surrounded by all these spirits. And the reporter went, ooh, ooh. And Jim Morrison's sister, my wife, was listening and she said, oh yeah, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and Johnny fucking Walker. In those words, and she didn't swear, but it was like we were jaded when he started doing the little bit too esoteric, because he couldn't do that with us, you know. He couldn't come along and say, yes, Maxine, we say Shakespeare, and he'd go, yeah. Nobody else knows that, only you. But I'll tell you this one interesting dynamic. When we first got here, he took us to show us his people, and they bowed down to him, you know, and not really, but they surrounded him and were on his every word. And it was like, you know, so he looked at us, looking at them doing that. And whenever he tried to do to them, because that's what they were waiting for, he'd look at us and we go, no, you can. So he had to actually descend from Mount Olympus and get down with us and talk about children and talk about things he didn't want to talk about. And they go, what the fuck? I was just talking about the Greek gods of yesteryear. And they're like, no, we're talking about Jim. Stop bullshitting. So it was a kind of an interesting dynamic, you know, to watch him come
that
back.
is interesting.
Yeah.
The
Anyway,
public would only ever have expected poetry from Jim.
never. One night, he was doing rock and roll in this whole drunk audience, and he stopped cold and went into this thing. He just got back from Texas, and he'd been doing DJing on the radio, and he loved it. He talked about that on the way in from the airport. And he went, suddenly the whole band was looking at him because he was just staring at the audience. And then he went like this. I want to tell you about Texas radio and the big beat. It comes out of the swamp, cool and silent, with a backbeat hard to master. And the audience went. And then he went on and he captured them and took them from this rock and roll, wild fucking, to this place. No one had ever done that, not in this era. And Morrison took the medium of 18th century poetry and he rammed it around their fucking throats and up their asses and through their ears and out their mouth. And they loved it. And that's when Morrison realized, I think then, how really important his words were and how that he could alter the course of you know, the wild abandon of the hippie. Yeah, looked like they're all just guns, but he got their attention with beautiful poetry.
David, focus.
What?
Oh, he gave them focus for their euphoria.
Absolutely correct. And took them away from that realm of like abandon to a focus of I call it cognizance. I call it metacognizance, a higher consciousness than you've ever had before. Can you imagine half these kids that never would read a poem? Oh my God, oh, the smithy is a mighty man and all this old-fashioned decadent poetry. Morrison comes off with his own words. I was on a radio station doing a DJ thing, but this is how I translate it to you. I want to tell you about Texas radio. Wonderful, marvelous. Hey, this has been really cool, but really quick. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, it went really quickly, didn't it?
Got a lot of shit in here. And it's all taped, right?
Yeah, it's all on tape, and I'm going to send you a link to the YouTube video sometime tonight, tomorrow at the latest.
How about that? You got Jim Morrison's nephew, Dylan, called in.
Very good, yes.
Yeah,
And I got some footage on the cell phone too. Not very many people showed up, but I got some footage of people watching your presentation.
We'll have to edit that out, Zach. Thousands showed up.
Oh, right. Yeah, good point. Yeah. You just couldn't see them all. I mean, there were so many people, it blotted out the lens.
It's like Donald Trump's crowd at the White House. There were millions and multitudes.
Exactly. I've never seen so many people at Mutiny before.
And so the Mutiny Cafe was jammed. People couldn't get out. They were stabbing each other to get in. Anyway.
So I think Taylor wants me to draw attention to the books at the front of the room there. There's a copy of two copies of an anthology called The Cool Zone. Lots of writers, artists, photographers from Denver and all over the world. 2 copies of a book by me called Market Man. 1 copy of Before the Beatles Were Famous by Al Graham, who's on the screen right there. and a French edition of I Remember Jim Morrison Too. Al Graham is Jim Morrison's brother-in-law for 22 years.
Well, it's
Those books are for sale. Yeah, if anyone's interested, let me know.
now listen. This has been a thrill of my life because
And
it's,
I have an old. Sorry, go ahead, Al.
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Oh, it looks like people are interested in buying books. Possibly Taylor's saying something,
Well, you know what?
and maybe they're not.
In about an hour, I'm going to pick up the new
Hard copy.
hard copies, and
Yes, and I want to announce that the new edition of I Remember Jim Morrison Too, the new edition of Before the Beatles Were Famous, and the new edition of Poet Rain will all be available very soon.
no, actually, they're all on Amazon right now. Oh well, they will be in a
And
little
they
while.
are all on Amazon right now. By Alan Graham.
All right, let's listen. God bless Denver. God bless Zack Kopp and the Mutiny Cafe and everyone there is listening. This is just the beginning. We'll be back, and we've got lots more to talk about and lots more music because I've got a band called Frankie Setback and the Ghost Cowboys, and we'll be playing you and
Great.
singing. So God bless everybody and God bless me.
All right. God bless you, Al. Have a great rest of the day. God bless you, David Levine.
Thank you, Zach.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye guys.
So long, Al.
So long. Keep on rocking.